Thank you, Senator Durbin. There was a central question in this hearing, and that central question was, who does Todd Blanche represent? Does he represent the person of the president, or does he represent the American people? And time after time after time, it became clear the answer is he represents Donald Trump, the person of Donald Trump. Indeed, he said as much in what I think we can all describe as a Freudian slip. But we see evidence of that in his entire conduct during the year that he's been in the Justice Department, or more than a year. If you look at some of the most egregious examples, you look at this slush fund agreement, this IRS so-called settlement that a court in Florida recently reviewed and found that there was no adversarial relationship between the parties. Basically, the president was negotiating with the president, and Todd Blanche was the lawyer for both. And we saw this when I asked the Attorney General who wrote that IRS settlement agreement, who wrote that one paragraph, broad, expansive, get out of jail free for tax crimes language. Who wrote that? And he acknowledged he didn't write it. And he acknowledged he didn't know who did write it. Now, he thought that it might have been written by the Department of Justice or maybe the IRS, but he didn't know. When you read the language of it, it looked a lot like it was written by the president's lawyers. So you have Todd Blanche signing an agreement of unknown provenance that basically gives his former client, and I would say his current clients, potentially $100 million of taxpayer money in tax liabilities and obligations he may have incurred. And that he could, in respect to the slush fund, represent in prior testimony and again today, that the slush fund is dead, that he could attribute to himself the power to say that when this is supposed to be what he's argued to be a negotiation between two adversarial parties. How is it that he could speak for the other party if he wasn't on both sides of this transaction? This too was raised by the court in Florida when it sent a letter referral to the Bar Association in New York to look at the ethical or lack of ethical conduct by the Attorney General. So time after time, whether it's the IRS agreement, the slush fund, whether it's dismissing cases against insurrectionists, whether it's the department's opposition to the release of the second report on the Mar-a-Lago case, time after time after time, this department under his leadership has taken a position that's not in the public interest. And the problem is this: who is representing the American people at the top of the Justice Department? And the answer is presently no one. No one. There is simply a lawyer representing the President of the United States and his personal interests. And therein lies the danger to the American people.
Senator Adam Schiff didn't hold back. The central question in this hearing was simple. Who does Todd Blanche represent? Time after time, the answer became crystal clear. He represents Donald Trump, the person, not the American people. Look at the evidence Schiff laid out. The IRS so-called settlement. A Florida court ruled there was no adversarial relationship between the parties. Basically, the president was negotiating with the president, and Todd Blanche was the lawyer for both sides. Blanche signed an agreement of unknown origin that could hand his former, and possibly current, client up to $100 million in taxpayer money through tax relief. When Schiff asked who wrote the broad, get-out-of-jail-free language, Blanche said he didn't write it, and he didn't even know who did. Then there's the slush fund. Blanche claims it's dead, but how can he speak for both sides in what should be an adversarial negotiation? A court in Florida was so concerned, it referred his conduct to the New York Bar for ethical review. And it doesn't stop there, dismissing cases against insurrectionists, blocking the release of the second Mar-a-Lago report. At every turn, this Department of Justice under Todd Blanche has put Trump's personal interests above the public interest. Schiff's final warning is chilling. Right now, at the top of the Justice Department, no one is representing the American people. Just a lawyer for the president and his personal interests. And that, Schiff says, is the danger to the American people.